The mystery of Richard III's lost tomb. Some mysteries lie dormant for centuries waiting to be unraveled. Others seem to reveal themselves when the time is right. Over 500 years ago, King Richard III of England was unceremoniously thrown into a grave, vanishing from history and sparking one of the greatest royal mysteries of all time. For centuries, his burial site was lost beneath layers of lies, legends, and historical missteps. The question persisted: where did Richard III go? The answer, as improbable as it sounds, began to emerge in a humble parking lot in England, when one clue suddenly changed everything. This is the extraordinary tale of how one of England's most controversial monarchs disappeared, and how a team of researchers brought him back into the light of history. We've recreated every step of the journey to show you how Richard III was found, and how a 500-year-old mystery was solved with modern science and a groundbreaking DNA test. The Battle of Bosworth. A turning point. Richard III's reign came to a brutal end at the Battle of Bosworth Field. His rival, Henry Tudor, defeated him in 1485 and promptly claimed the crown. Richard's body was taken to Leicester, where it was publicly displayed to confirm his death. According to early records, he was then buried hastily beneath the Greyfriars Church. A simple monument marked the grave until everything changed. Just decades later, Henry VIII dismantled the Catholic Church in England, shutting down and destroying religious sites including Greyfriars. The land was sold, and a mansion was built atop the site by the mayor of Leicester, who knew where Richard had been buried and marked it himself. The false story that misled generations. Then in 1611, historian John Speed published a story that would derail the truth for centuries. He claimed that when the church was demolished, Richard's remains were exhumed by a furious mob and buried under Bow Bridge nearby. Though the origins of this tale were uncertain, it gained traction. By the 1800s, it was accepted as fact. A plaque was even installed by the bridge to commemorate the supposed burial site. Later, a skeleton was found in the river, and many believed the mystery had been solved wrongly. By the 21st century, the real location of Richard III's remains had been completely forgotten. The mayor's mansion was gone, the church erased, and buildings covered every inch of the site. A new search begins. In the early 2000s, members of the Richard III Society reignited the search. Using modern technology and historical research, they hoped to correct centuries of confusion. They revisited John Speed's map and found something critical. He had mistakenly identified the location of the Greyfriars Church, confusing it with the similarly named Blackfriars Church. This mistake explained why he never found the grave, and why he invented the Bow Bridge story. Now, the search team could focus on the true location long buried beneath a modern city block. Following the clues to a parking lot, a 1741 map revealed the area where Greyfriars once stood, including the gardens surrounding the mayor's mansion. By overlaying historical and modern maps, researchers pinpointed a section now occupied by a nondescript parking lot. In 2005, researcher Philippa Langley visited the lot and felt an uncanny certainty that this was the spot. Strangely, she noticed a parking space marked with the letter R. It was just a coincidence, reserved, but it felt symbolic enough to spark the dig. Years later, the team secured permission to excavate. They had limited funding and could only open a few trenches, so they had to choose wisely. Based on the typical east-west orientation of churches, they selected 3 narrow excavation lines. On August 25, -527 years to the day since Richard's burial, the dig began. The remarkable discovery. Within just 6 hours in the very first trench, the team made a breathtaking find: a human skeleton. The remains showed 2 key features: severe trauma to the skull and a distinct spinal curvature. Historical accounts described Richard III as having one shoulder higher than the other, and being hunched, a condition consistent with scoliosis. Could it really be him, proving the king's identity? To be sure, the team used every available tool from modern science. They extracted DNA from the skeleton and searched for a living descendant. Mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down through the maternal line, became their focus. Remarkably, they were able to trace an unbroken maternal lineage back to Richard's sister, ultimately identifying Joy Brown, a descendant who had passed away. But her son, Michael Ibsen, was alive. If the DNA matched, it would confirm a biological link to Richard III. To strengthen the case, they identified another living female line descendant, Wendy Duldig. Comparing Wendy and Michael's DNA showed they shared the same mitochondrial signature tracing back to Richard's mother. While the DNA was being analyzed, they also performed carbon dating on the bones. Initially, results suggested the body was slightly older than Richard. But one clue made all the difference. The high seafood content in the diet, consistent with nobility at the time, had skewed the carbon-14 decay rate. Adjusting for this, the results lined up perfectly with Richard's era. DNA results, a match confirmed. The final DNA test results arrived and confirmed the truth. The skeleton and Michael Ibsen shared the same mitochondrial DNA. It was an overwhelming match. After centuries of myths and misinformation, Richard III had been found. A remarkable journey comes full circle. This wasn't just the resolution of a mystery, it was the revival of a lost king's story, made possible by dedication, science, and a little bit of instinct in a parking lot. To celebrate this incredible find, we're giving away a framed print of Richard III in our next video. Just like, comment, and sign up using the link in the description. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.